All right, guys, so I got some really, really good news and really, really bad news for you at the same time here. So we got some new polls that just came out about Trump's illegal and offensive bombing of Iran. Remember, they weren't building a nuke. They were no threat to us whatsoever. So the pollsters asked the question, and really fascinating answers here. So let's start with this Harry Enton clip. He sort of breaks it down. He breaks down the bigger picture. Here we go.
Things are moving quite quickly, but these are initial readings. And I will say from a historical perspective, I am surprised that the net approval rating is so low on these strikes. And it's in two different polls. It's our CNN SSRS poll, 12 points underwater, 1 thumbs down. How about the Reuters Ipsos poll? Look at that. The exact same reading, -9 points underwater, 2 thumbs down. And why am I so surprised from a historical perspective? Because usually airstrikes rate fairly highly. What are we talking about? Let's go back through the time machine. Net approval of U.S. airstrikes. You see it here, Iran, -11 points underwater on the average. Compared to ISIS back in 2014, 58 points in the positive direction. So this is a nearly 70-point difference. That is why I'm so surprised from a historical perspective, because normally these airstrikes rate quite highly. But this one, you go back through history, it rates as the lowest that I could possibly find on the historical record.
Wow. So, by the way, I have an answer as to why the bombing overall is underwater. Because there was no long-term propaganda buildup. How many times have I told you guys? I was radicalized by the Iraq War in the first place. And they spent literally 2 straight years, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld and all these neocon assholes, they were on TV saying, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction, he wants to use them against us, he helped Osama bin Laden do 9/11, and it's just a matter of time, we got to act on this, he's responsible for it. And they hammered that message home so long, and had fake intelligence and everything, that the country just went, I mean, if they're even close to right about this, I guess we got to do the war, right? ISIS, how much did we see around that time frame in 2013, 2014, videos of ISIS like crusading through these little towns and killing people and taking people as slaves, and like all of it was right there for us to see. And after a while, people were like, yeah, somebody should probably do some shit to stop this. So there was a big propaganda buildup to get to the point. With Trump and then Yahoo, it was just like the same guy that's literally doing a live stream genocide was like, bro, we're under threat by Iran, attack everything. And there was no propaganda buildup, none whatsoever. Now, it is true though that when the bombings were happening, the media snapped right back into war fever mode and kept painting a misleading picture of the situation and wasn't telling the full truth and wasn't comparing it to Iraq. That's true. But you need at least like 6 months of a fucking buildup to this to make people feel like there's no choice, we got to do it. And they didn't do that. They didn't do that. And that speaks to this regime's incompetence, right? I mean, it speaks to how evil they are. The fact that they did an illegal and offensive bombing against this country that didn't attack us and wasn't building a nuke shows how evil they are. But it also shows how incompetent they are. Okay, I got more for you. Look at this one from YouGov. Approval of the U.S. bombing Iranian nuclear sites. Disapprove 48, but more important, the approved number is just 38%. Only 38% of the country supports these bombings. Again, exact same point. You didn't really convince anybody that, oh, Iran's actually a threat to it. Like, everybody knows Iran's not a fucking threat to us. Everybody knows that. They literally haven't invaded a country in 250 years. You would have to be a total moron to think that they're a threat to us. So this poll is spot on, and respect, by the way, only 38% of the country was duped by this. That's a number that is, very positive. It's very positive because it just shows that people are plugged in enough to go, I don't think so. Only 38% support. Okay, now, let's go a little deeper, y'all, because there is one group in the country that is super for this. Would you like to take a guess who it is? We call them MAGA. So let's start with this here, and then I got more for you. Just wait for it.
Yeah, I think there's this idea, okay, maybe the MAGA base wouldn't necessarily like this. Look, this is Donald Trump's Republican Party. That's what I think is so important to note. GOP on the U.S. airstrikes in Iran, 76% in the average of the two polls approve, compared to just 18% who disapprove. Now, I will note that is a bit higher than Donald Trump's disapproval rating within the Republican Party. But overall, Republicans are with Donald Trump on this. Tucker Carlson be darned. The bottom line is he does not speak for the majority of the Republican base. The majority of the Republican base is with Donald Trump.
Okay, so we're just getting started here because he said this is like the MAGA base. It's not. This poll was of Republicans. Wait until we get specifically to the MAGA base. But let me show you one more. So here we have CBS News YouGov poll. And this kind of says it all, doesn't it? So only 13% of Democrats approve of bombing Iran. Only 13%. Only 13%. And that's even when you ask specifically about the nuclear facilities. Only 13%. That, ladies and gentlemen, is based as fuck. Nearly every Democrat in the country is like, we don't need to fucking do this. Iran's not a threat. What are you talking about, right? Independents. Only 36% of independents support the bombing. So the liberals and the leftists and the independents are all going, what the fuck is this? No, I don't want to do this. Fuck you. No. All right, ready? Then you get to Republicans. 85% of Republicans support the U.S. bombing Iranian nuclear facilities. 85%. Wait for it. It gets worse. Ready for this? It gets worse. So then the pollsters asked, all right, what about specifically people who describe themselves as MAGA Republicans? Ready? 94% of MAGA Republicans support the U.S. bombing Iran's nuclear facilities. Why, you ask? Because they are MAGA Republicans. They are broadcasting, I am in this man's cult. I am in his cult. If he says, as he did, we can't let Iran get a bomb. This is necessary. We can't let Iran get a bomb. This is necessary. They go, yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. You're so correct, sir. We love you, sir. We agree, sir. Do whatever you want, sir. Trump has openly warmongered with Greenland and Panama. I could actually see a scenario where Trump invades Greenland or invades Panama and steals it. And then you have a poll come out and more than half of the MAGA base says, totally, I'm with this. A strong majority would be like, yeah, illegally steal Greenland, illegally steal Panama. Why not? My dear leader told me that it's what he wants to do. Let's do it. 94%. Only 6% of the MAGA base goes, I don't know about this. But now watch. Now with Trump doing his whole ceasefire shtick, right? They'll all come out and be, oh, no, totally, yeah, ceasefire. We love ceasefires. No, not bombing is great. Let's not bomb. 94% of you just said bomb them. And we're good. We're done. It's over. Ceasefire. Right, yeah, totally. We agree. And then as soon as it fires back up and there's more war, yeah, we love war, bro. Totally. Whatever Trump wants to do it. It's a cult. How many times have I told you? It's a cult. I've given you the numbers before, but anywhere from 26% to 33% of the country is just, they're never going to flip on Trump, ever. So that means our goal, our aim is a giant coalition of liberals, leftists, and independents. And those are the people who make up this big anti-Trump coalition, which finally takes down the fascist death cult that is MAGA. And when I see numbers like this, I'm more convinced than ever. This is a fucking fascist death cult. You think it wouldn't be a majority of MAGA Republicans that would support Trump dropping a nuke if he did it? This poll, 94% say bomb Iran's nuclear facilities. That kind of shows me, yeah, if he did nuke somebody, they would absolutely be on board. Absolutely a majority would be on board with it. No doubt in my mind. Because as you all know, Iran was zero threat to us whatsoever, and they weren't even building a nuke. And even so, 94% of Trump supporters go, right on, bro, right on. So you get a little bit of everything in this poll. The really, really good news is basically everybody who's not a Republican or MAGA is totally against this. But MAGA and the Republicans are they're fucking horny for war. They're a lot more in agreement with fucking Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro than they are with the tepid criticisms of fucking like Tucker Carlson and sloppy Steve Bannon. That's the reality of the situation. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.